Good morning. Good morning. Let me just make sure I'm in the right group and we'll get started. How are you this morning? Can I just get somebody to see and let me know if they are seeing me live right now in the Grow group? Not seeing anybody just yet. Just want to test my connections. Yeah, I see it. We're good. Okay. Hi. I am Tina Cecila, and I'm just going to jump in right here. I've already given you some information in the description of our Facebook Live broadcast right now, and I'm just going to roll on some more of this recipe that I got from Jill on call. Love this. It's called Crown. The recipe is in the description of today's broadcast, so if you want to make some of that yourself, I advise you to. It smells fantastic and really gets my creativity going. So if you haven't made that yet, go do it. It's what Jill used when she was pushing for Crown. That's why she named it Crown. So good morning. Hey. Okay, so I may or may not get to see all the comments as we go along, but I promise you I've gotten some of your pre-broadcast questions in my notes, and so I'm going to make sure that I cover those, as well as I will be checking back through the broadcast questions and through everything after it's all over with. Rachel, thank you so much for inviting me to come and speak to this group today. This is exciting for me. Rachel is a great dear friend. She's also a fellow Alabamian, and she came to a recent class that I taught on the Zyto. And she said, can you please come and teach this to the Grow group? And I was like, of course, this is exciting. So Rachel's going to help me kind of on the sidelines and monitor some questions as well. So you may see her jump in, interject, and handle the crowd as we go along. So let me just kind of get my notes together. All right, so I'm Tina, and I have been in Young Living since May of 2013. My husband and I are diamonds. We've been married for 23 years. We live in Central Alabama. We have two girls. One's married and one is about to head off to college. So we're about to be empty nesters. It's going to be a whole new world out here. So I wanted to let you know that I saw some questions about, what's the difference between Zyto and Itovi. I'm going to talk about some of that, but I also want to let you know that I have an Itovi and I use both devices. I think there's a need for both, at least for myself. Now, this is something that you can decide for yourself as you go along with your business, but Itovi is a very simple scan that's fantastic to use for first-time scans or at classes. It's app-based, as you know. You probably saw Cy Tidwell come in this week and talk to you about his device. I love the fact that it's portable and you can pass around your Itovi in your smartphone, and you can have people scan really quick. It gives you, just kind of a short list of things that your body may need, and I love that. So, but I want to talk to you mainly today about the Zyto. The Zyto I've been using since we joined, not too long after we joined in 2013. We bought our first Zyto. We joined with the Zyto Compass. Many people do join with the Zyto Compass. And then we loved it. We were using it at classes, doing all kinds of business building IPAs with our Zyto Compass. And then, of course, when Itovi came around, we were like, oh my gosh, this is great. So we got the Itovi. And then there was a time period where Itovi wasn't available. So that's about the time that Zyto Balance was introduced. And I had a Zyto Balance scan done, and I absolutely fell in love with all of the information that I was receiving. And I decided to upgrade my compass to the Zyto Balance. And that was in December of 2017. So I've been using the Balance scans for a little over a year now. And we've had just some great results with new signups, with our ER percentage going up, and with our OGV numbers really rising between people. Like, you look at your stats and you have your average PV per order. Ours has actually risen, and I believe that it's because myself and a lot of people on our team are using the Zyto balance. So let's break it down. Okay, so what is a Zyto? A Zyto is a device that uses a galvanic skin response to measure your body's response to products that your company carries. So the balance will allow you to load one library in, and of course, we have Young Living in our library. This technology has been around for a very long time. It runs on the same basic science as a Fitbit or an Apple Watch. The Zyto itself consists of two parts. There's this big hand cradle, which looks like a big oversized computer mouse, and someone will put their hand on all of these electrodes, and then it connects with a USB device to a computer. Now, Zyto uses PC. So this is my PC. I'm actually broadcasting to you from my MacBook, which is what I use every day, except that I have this PC for my Zyto. So I literally carry around two computers all the time. There hopefully will be some kind of Zyto for Mac in the future, and I do hear that if you're really smart with computers, that you can get some kind of bridge thing that can help you use your Zyto on a Mac. I have not tackled that yet, so if you have and you can teach me, then please bring that on. So the Zyto, the software itself gives you different information. So you've already heard me mention the compass and the balance. There's actually a couple of different other softwares that are available for health practitioners. Those are Evox and Elite, and I believe there's a couple of others. Everybody uses the same cradle, but the software itself is different. So the cradle is just the communication device. Okay, so yeah, I see somebody says her friend runs hers with Windows on a Mac. I would love to explore that at some point. The thing is, I just need to slow down long enough to understand it. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between the compass and the balance. So compass, I'm going to talk to you about that real quick. The compass is the entry-level software. It's the most affordable part of Zyto, and it is similar to the iTovi. It's going to give you a list of products that your body is showing a strong coherence for. And so that's the base level. It's very affordable. You can enter it into the Zyto world for as little as $99 and $40 a month. Now that does require a 12-month contract to come in at that low of a price. If you don't like a monthly contract, then you can join Zyto with the compass for $199 a month and $199 up front and $40 a month. Now there's no contract with that, which a lot of people like because you can cancel at any time. You don't have that ongoing monthly contract. And then when you want to re-up or reactivate, you just contact Zyto and they reactivate your monthly service. So that's really cool. Compass scans for about 120 biomarkers. You'll get a list of products that your body had a strong coherence for, and then of course a description of what those products would be, and that just comes right off the Young Living website, so it's very compliant. So I'm going to show you a little graphic real quick on what the Zyto compass looks like. So let me just slide this little graphic over. I hope you can see this. This is actually my scan. I scanned myself, and you can see there's 124 biomarkers. It does give me a range. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And it divides those biomarkers up. So you can see that on this compass scan, I had 52 biomarkers in range and 72 out of range. And so then the next page on that shows me the products that I would need. So M-grain, Mastrante, humility, clove, and then it goes in and shows me the website description of those products. So that is a compass scan. It's just similar to an iTovi. You get the products in front of you, you get the description in front of you, and of course, anytime you're doing a scan, it's a good idea to have some resources available to help people, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's talk about the balance scan, because this is where it really impressed me, and this is why I use balance so much every day. So The balance itself is going to look at more biomarkers, over 170. It's actually 171 for men and 172 for women. It gives you a variety of information, including 4 core body systems for wellness and 6 lifestyle areas. Now, all of this Zyto has determined that is like the base of what helps us to maintain a healthy body. So the cost of the balance is $399, and it's $50 a month for the software access. And that is no contract. You can cancel at any time. So you can upgrade your compass if you happen to have one to the balance for $299 and $50 a month. So with either compass or the balance, you can you can't take a single scan and diagnose a client or a prospect or a member. Zyto is simply a decision-making software. It helps you to understand what your body may need, and it's not to take the place of a medical practitioner. So you want to make sure that you're helping your prospect, your client, your member understand that, unless you're a medical provider, I'm not a medical provider. I am simply a person who has a huge passion for helping people discover wellness and being their own health advocate. And so Zyto technology helps me to get that information to help them understand where their body may need some support. So instead of just willy-nilly ordering a whole lot of supplements and a whole lot of oils and not knowing exactly what your body needs, then I am able to help them understand what they absolutely can benefit from. And I love how Zyto and the technology is able to give me like a numeric measurement of value of what I can be able to show them what's most important. So that's really cool. Another thing about the balance that I love is that these can be done remotely. We build a business all over the world. So we have members and prospects everywhere. And sometimes people say, well, I'd love to get a scan, but I'm not near you. And that's okay, because with the balance, you can have an extra cradle and you can mail it to someone. And as long as they have a PC, a Wi-Fi access, and a cradle, then you can scan them remotely. There's just a simple little remote app that you download from this Zyto.com website, and you have them download it on their end, and then you connect with a code. And so it's just as powerful as if they're sitting right across the table from you, and you're able to get that information. And then, of course, talk to them through their report and help them get enrolled or help them get their ER set up so that they can get the products that they need. Now, when you're doing a remote scan, I recommend that you do, you're going to, of course, charge them for the scan, and we'll talk about that more in a minute, but I would recommend that you take a deposit for the cradle. How much is an extra cradle? That's a great question. So with Zyto, you can purchase an extra cradle for $250. They're very expensive. However, myself and several of my colleagues that do Zyto on a regular basis, we have been approaching people who may have just a dormant Zyto cradle laying around. I know there are people who jump into a wellness company and for whatever reason life happens and they just kind of, they just go on to something else. And so a lot of people have a cradle laying around in a drawer somewhere that's not getting used. And so the going rate to purchase a good used cradle with the USB cord included is about $50. So if you or anyone you know has extra cradles laying around, then please reach out to me if you're looking to maybe just sell that. I know plenty of people that would like to purchase those. So anyway, when you're mailing a Zyto cradle, you want to make sure you charge a deposit. It would be refundable. So as soon as you receive the cradle back, you can refund that deposit simply through PayPal or Venmo or something like that. I do know, because I mail these quite a bit, that you can mail one for a U.S. priority mail for a flat $7.65, so $8. You can charge them to have it mailed to them each way. So $16 extra to have it mailed. Plenty of people are ready to pay that because they value the information they're going to get from that scan so much. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about the balance, because I showed you some pictures about the compass, and I want to show you how cool the balance is and how much different information you're going to get. So let's slide some graphics over here. So this is the front page, the dynamic profile of a balance report. You can see there's 172 biomarkers. There's a range of 21.79. 84 of those are in range and 88 are out of range. So let's take a look at what that might look like. This looks familiar. This looks just like the Compass scan where you see those products listed and how your body needs them, like Comfort Tone 54, Detox Dime 19, Goldenrod 7, Coriander 6. So it just kind of goes through all of the products in the scan, and of course it gives you the breakdown of the product description as found on the website. And then this is where it gets really cool, okay? So this is where you're going to see the first glimpse of the 4 core body systems and the 6 lifestyle areas. So we're going to be looking at the detoxification system, the gastrointestinal system, hormone endocrine, and the immune system. And then those 6 lifestyle areas are diet and nutrition, hydration, inflammation, mental and emotional stress. That always brings about a lot of interest. Sleep. Who doesn't need sleep? And of course, toxic stress. So there's a lot of information there. So just to kind of give you a little bit of heads up about what all these numbers mean, there's tons of training on the Zyto website. This particular call in class is not about training in how to read a scan. I'll give you some tips as we go along, but Zyto offers tons of training. I go through them all the time. And refresh myself on them. So if you have a Zyto and you're looking at what are all these numbers and what do they mean, and you haven't been through their video training, please go to that and do it. You log into Zyto.com with your credentials, and then in the top right hand corner you'll see like little squares. Click on that and then go to training, and the videos are located there. There's also a forum on Zyto.com that has tons of questions that are very common. People have asked those questions, and then some of the head coaches have come in there and answered those questions. So go through there, spend some time, invest some research hours into this because it'll make you better at reading your scans. And then the more you scan, the better you will be at reading them as well. So if you see that thin red line down the middle of it's a vertical red line down the middle of those bright green, yellow, orange, and red lines, that is what the range is. So similar to, say, a lie detector test. Zyto asks a series of neutral questions when it's establishing the connection between the client and the software. And so those neutral questions are just measuring the response of that client. So that gives you that range. Most ranges are somewhere between 5 and 20. And so what it is think about a number line. That is the starting point, 0 on a number line. So you have what Zyto tells us is anything down to negative, that range. So if mine is 20, I can't see it from here, so like 22, down to negative 22 or up to positive 22, anywhere in that range, I'm within range. But if you see a category, a data point is what they're called. If you see a data point that has a number outside that range, then that's what we call out of range. Sometimes you'll see data points that are like double the range, and that's where Zyto says we really want to start paying attention to those areas. So if you notice, my gastrointestinal system is the most out of range in the 4 lifestyle areas, and then, in the 4 core body systems, and in the 6 lifestyle areas, the toxic stress, mental and emotional, and diet and nutrition, in that order, are the areas that are most out of range in that scan. And so we're able to look at each one of those areas. This particular scan, I believe, was 18 pages long. We can look at each one of those, but instead of taking up a lot of time with your client, going through every single one of these areas, work on the most out of range areas first. Okay, so let's take a look at some of that. But with me, I was most out of range in my gastrointestinal. So I'm going to pull that over here. We're going to talk about my gastrointestinal system. So this particular day that I scanned, I'll have to admit to you, I did eat something that was not on my favorite food plan, and my stomach was giving me some issues. And so I scanned, and the Zyto balance nailed it. You cannot lie to the Zyto. So I see that my vitamins, this is an area that is out of range. So you see a list of words there on that sheet, and it has a bunch of numbers beside it. Those are the deviation ratios to those are the numeric values to how far out of range I was. And so the list of words to the left of the green bars, those are data points that show up in different categories, and not every person has the same thing show up. So these were the things that needed to show up on this scan. And then of course underneath it, you'll see the top balancers. So out of everything that was out of range in my gastrointestinal system, comfort tone is going to bring those into range the best. Now let's say I don't have comfort tone or it's out of stock. Well, Detox Zyme would also do a very good job at bringing these stressors into balance. And so I could skip to that. It doesn't mean that I need all 5 of those things on that particular category. It just means if you look at those numbers to the left of the products, those are deviation ratios. That is a fancy term for the numeric value of what your body needed in those products. So from greatest to least, these are the top 5 products that'll bring into balance my gastrointestinal system. Okay. All right. So toxic stress, mental and emotional, those were all out of range. I'm going to skip through. I can't really see a lot of this up because it's so tiny on my screen, but this is immune system. You'll see several things in my immune system that are out of range and some things that would bring it into range. Let me pull up mental and emotional stress. I believe, no, that's inflammation. Here we go. This is the mental and emotional. This is what, when you're scanning people, nothing I have seen that is available to people like me without a health practitioner license can give you as much information and help you with your client, with your member. We all have emotions, and as young living people, we see there's a lot of information that we have access to that helps us to understand where our emotions can impact the body. And so when you look right here, there are some top mental and emotional stressors, and then there are emotional stressors. So anxiety was at the top of my stressors. And then if we look at my balancers were goldenrod, coriander, motivation, dragon thyme, and Australian blue. So interesting that something that we typically see recommended to support some hormone systems in the body is showing up for mental and emotional stress. So what do we do when we're looking for answers? When you are not sure why something is showing up, you want to turn to your resources. Now with me, I love the essential oil pocket reference. I love the Pocket on the Go app. I love the desk reference, because if you're looking for supplement information, you're going to only be able to find that in the desk reference. Now, Life Science Publishing is now on the 7th edition desk reference, but I actually own every desk reference except for the 4th edition, because if you go back in time, all of those different desk references have information that has been watered down or maybe eliminated from our desk references. So the more you know about the products, the more you know about the human body and how they react with the products, the better you'll be at reading your scan. So another reference book that I love is this one, Releasing Emotional Patterns Using Essential Oils. This is Dr. Caroline Mine. She is a chiropractor. She wrote this book. It's in its, I think, 12th edition now. Any of your reference books from Life Science Publishing are going to be Young Living approved. Those are Gary's writings. Those are third-party produced, the non-compliant stuff that we are all looking for, that we want to help. When we're meeting with somebody one-on-one, you need to be able to help them understand what body systems are doing the things that they're doing, okay? So let me just kind of show you how powerful this is. So if I look up in Dr. Mine's book, anxiety, I can look up the emotion itself, and I can look up what the opposite side of anxiety is, and it's confidence. I can look up, there's a way out or an affirmation, which is peace, be still. The oil for that is joy. And the alarm point or the acupuncture point that you put it on is the capillary. And there's even a chart in the back of the book that shows you where that's found on the body. So all of these references together with the balance with your scans help you to help your member to be able to do these things. So this week I was scanning an 18-year-old girl who was dealing with some emotional things. And when I read out her emotions, she busted out crying. And she's not one that normally shows emotions. Her mom was there with me, and we were walking through some of the things that she was going through. And together with the balance and those recommendations and the stressors that were showing up, we helped to identify her repressed emotions that she had not been admitting and she was not dealing with. And so we know that those repressed emotions, as we don't deal with them, they can turn into a physical manifestation. So lots and lots of education out there on that topic. That's not what this call is about, of course. But can you imagine how many people we can help when they realize what it is that they've been holding on to, how they can get freedom from it? And oh my goodness, if you were one of the lucky ones that were able to get the Freedom Bundle this week, as it came back in stock, that was incredible. If you didn't, maybe the Feelings Kit. But you guys, what you need to understand is even if you don't have the Freedom Bundle or the Feelings Kit, use what the balance says. Mine was Goldenrod, and yes, that's out of stock, but you know what Goldenrod is in? Is Power Jazz. Power Jazz supplement has Goldenrod in it. So look at the blends and the supplements that have the ingredients in them. What Zyto does is it has a vibrational pattern, a digital signature to every product we have. And so when your body says, hey, this is what I need, listen to it and use it. And of course, you have those 5 selections at the end of every chapter, of every section of the scan. So you can choose something in there and use it. Okay. So at the end of the Zyto Balance scan, you will see a page called Services. Now, I've talked to a lot of people who scan for balance that have no idea that this is even in there because they don't have it turned on in their software. So again, go back to Zyto, go through all the videos, do all the training, and get this Services turned on. It's a simple switch in your Zyto software. But it is about 260 homeopathic holistic type services that are available to people. Maybe you're a practitioner. Maybe you want your services that you have, that you offer in your practice in this services inventory. You can turn on and turn off any of these. It's all in the software. Maybe here's another business tip. When you are looking at these scans and you see flower therapy, grounding therapy, all kinds of other therapies, right? Let's say chiropractic came up and I needed an adjustment and I'm working with a prospect or a member who needs these services, excuse me, then I can work with people in my area and network with them. A lot of you are probably in BNI groups and you network and do referrals already with practitioners in your area. But the Zyto Balance enables you to find some specific service providers. Google your area and find these service providers. An IPA would go into those offices and deliver, a welcome package or something to introduce yourself, shake the hands of the people in there, let them know you are providing the Zyto Balance scans in your team and that you would love to be able to network with them as services show up. You would refer them to that practitioner, and then therefore, if that practitioner is not in Young Living yet, then let's have that back and forth referral together. If they're not ready to enroll, then just ask for referrals. I promise you, practitioners talk to people about essential oils often throughout their day, and so having the services not only allows the client, the member, the prospect to have another way of figuring out what their body needs, and therefore have some therapeutic services to follow up on. It gives you, the business builder, another avenue of reaching out and contacting people that provide those services. And so there in Zyto Balance, there are a bunch of different reports. What I showed you was the basic standard report. Now there's a vertebrae report, there's a dental report, there's an organ report with vectors inside of it that helps you to figure out what organs may be under stress. I promise you, when I scanned myself with this particular scan, my large and small intestines were showing up out of range. So that was in the organ report. You can pull up all of those reports individually. There's a traditional Chinese medicine meridian report. So these things you can help people. Like if their vertebrae are out of balance, I literally took my vertebrae scan and I showed it to my chiropractor Wednesday when I went in for my adjustment. And I said, see, these are the things that are out of range. Let's work on these areas today. And she said, gotcha, girl. So anyway, all of these reports you can use in different ways. Now, typically when I scan somebody, I do not email them the entire report. It depends on how I'm using the balance and what capacity I'm using it. So for example, if I am scanning at a class, I've recently had a couple of classes where we had scans going on in a class, and I'll break that down for you in a few minutes. But when we were scanning people, as I was teaching the Essential Oil 101 class, they're only getting the report. They're not getting a full consult with their report, because this is just kind of a favor we were doing for them showing up for the class. And so let me show you a report that is awesome. If you're deciding that you're just going to help somebody figure out what products their body needs, like the Compass or the Itovi, there's a report inside the Balance called the DR, All Products by DR. Look at this. This is incredible. So this is actually 4 pages long. This is the front page, All Products by DR Value. This is right in the reports. You pull it up, and listed from left to right, the top row, we're reading it from left to right, you'll see by numeric value, my body needed Comfort Tone, Detoxzyme, Goldenrod, then Coriander, then Carrot Seed, then Motivation, then Dragon Time, then Australian Blue, then Clarity. It just keeps going on and on and on and on for 4 pages. And what you'll see is those DR values, the numbers beside the products, that's in greatest to least. Eventually, these reports actually get to 0, a 0.00, and then eventually they get into the negative numbers. So if you look at page 4 of those, you'll see that BLM capsules, I had a negative 64.12. That was the last thing at the bottom right-hand corner of that report. So what Zyto says is that if you're having that much of a negative DR value next to a product, you probably don't even need to be using that product. Not because you're having an adverse reaction to it. It's just that your body doesn't need it right now. And so Zyto says if you have a 0.00 or a positive number next to the product, that product's going to give you value. Let's say you're helping somebody with a general overall like core products they need. They need a premium starter kit. They need a probiotic. They need a multigreens, of course, Ninja Red, a digestive enzyme. Well, we have a lot of digestive enzymes. So which digestive enzyme do you want to recommend for this person? This DR report, you just keep going through there till the first digestive enzyme shows up. And then that's the digestive enzyme that that client needs, or that member or prospect needs for their wellness. That's the one that they had the most coherence for in the product line. So can you see how valuable this report is and how extensive this report is? And so when people say, well, what about an Itovi, or what about a Compass, or what about a Balance? And I'm like, no brainer. I mean, if you're serious about this, the Balance is the way to go. It has just been rocking our world. And so let's kind of talk about some business strategy and how this is going to help build your business. I got to take a sip. We've been talking for a while now, and so got my red drink here. No, this is not straight Ninja Red. This is my red drink. It's water, lime essential oil, sulfurzyme powder, and of course Ninja Red. And yes, I do drink from the bottle. And it's really funny when I'm driving down the road and turning up this bottle. I'm sure some law enforcement officers eventually going to pull me over and do a DUI. So I'll just sign him up, won't I? Okay. So scans at classes. People have fun talking about these scans, especially with the mental and emotional part. And it doesn't always end up fun because, if you're in a small group of people and people are really, girlfriends are trying to hold each other accountable, families are trying to, work through maybe some past traumatic situations, this can be a huge thing. So when you're doing scans at a scan event, they're very, very powerful. Okay, so think about classes. When I do my classes, it's absolutely necessary that you have an assistant sitting off to the side to help you do these scans, because a Zyto balance scan is going to take between 5 and 10 minutes to be able to actually just handle the cradle scanning. It's not quick like an iToby. It's a longer scan because of all the vast majority of data that's being shown up. So it takes a little while. So here's a tip. How many of you, when you do your classes, you have some kind of raffle slip of paper that you pass out at the beginning and everybody fills out their name, their phone number, their address, their email address, whatever. A lot of us do that, right? Because we use it for a raffle, and at the end of the class, we give away some goodies. We use that raffle piece of paper as a way to gather the information for your people that are going to scan. So when you enter in the data for a scan, you're basically doing name, email, gender, phone number, and date of birth. So I simply added the date of birth to my raffle prize slips. And then that way, when I pass them out, I give instructions and say, okay, we're going to be doing Zyto scans over here. What I need you to do is fill out this piece of paper, yes, including your date of birth, because as we go around the room, we're going to start over here. As you see somebody from in this circle on this table over here doing a scan, when you see somebody get up, then you go over there and you're next. And so then when she's done, then you go, and then we just go around and we quietly do that while I'm teaching the class, whatever the class is about. And so these people are just quietly going over there. So nobody's over there like talking and giving out their name, address, and date of birth and information. It's all on that sheet of paper. And so they literally just hand that sheet of paper. Another thing you can do as coach your hostesses, whoever your hostess is, as they're preparing for their class and they're looking at how many people are coming to the class and they're calling and following up, because that is the key to get butts in seats, is to really coach that hostess and help them understand what it takes to get people to commit to actually showing up. Let them know we're going to be doing these Zyto balance scans and you don't want to miss this. This is going to be awesome. This is normally a $50 scan and we're doing it for whatever price you decide to get them to come to the class. And when they commit that they're coming, go ahead and get their name, email, phone number, date of birth. That way, the hostess can be communicating with you, the Zyto Balance owner, and you can go ahead and get them in the system. It just saves a few minutes while you're sitting down to get the scan done, okay? Especially if you got 20, 25 people at a class. I promise you, there were people still scanning after I got done with my presentation. So, and then what happens is whoever is doing the scan, they're emailing as that person gets up and we go to the next person. So your attendees are getting their emails and they're sitting there going, oh my word, through the rest of the class going, look at this. What does this mean? So at the end of the class, they're ready. They're ready to get their kit. They're ready to add on. They want to get on ER for the first time. They're going to check yes for the PSK. They're going to get on ER, and we recommend that they add any of the additional products that didn't come in the kit onto their first ER order. So what's that going to do for you, the enroller? You're going to get a point for the PSK. You're going to get a point for the ER. And in no time, you're going to be hitting the Help 5 every single month. Amazing, right? So, all right. so that's kind of how we do the classes. You can decide. We ask that people keep the balance fee legit. Like if we all start giving away these scans, it's going to make the price, it's going to make the value go down. It's just like the kit. I mean, our kit is every much worth $165. It's $412 worth of products for $165. If all of us are constantly dangling a carrot, giving away prizes to get people to commit to buying a kit, it devalues the already amazing value of the kit. So what we as business builders need to always make sure we're doing is keeping the balance, the scan price set at a fair price. I'm telling you, $50 is not too much to charge when you're giving this scan and the consult along with it. It is a lot of value. So that's the going rate for people to charge to do the scan. Now that leads me into another event that a friend of mine, a lot of you know April Houghton. She's everybody's sweetheart, right? We love April Houghton. If you haven't met her, you need to. She's precious. She's actually leaving today to go to Uganda. But anyway, she did a class to where it was an event. It was an all-day event. She got together with, I believe, 2 other leaders on her team, and they planned this well in advance, and they had a scan event. So they booked appointments at intervals. I want to say they were about 15-minute intervals. And then as people were coming in, they had a worker sitting at the door taking the money. They charged $50 for the scan, but there was a coupon. Okay. And I'll get to that in a minute. They charged $50. They came in, they paid their $50. Then they would go to the next table where April was with her Zyto, and she would scan them. Then April would email it to the next girl who was waiting with her computer, and they would go over the results, and they would do the consult right then with the person who just got the scan. Then they had another computer set up where they could go over there and log in with their own Young Living account and adjust their ER order. Of course, a lot of people did it with their own smartphone, so you don't have to have that. But let me tell you, they did 26 scans that day they charged $50, but they gave a $10 coupon if they stayed for the class at the end of the day. So if they came back for the class, it was $10 off. So everybody stayed for the class. And it was a great way for them to do it. So they literally got $40 for every person that came. They did $1,000 that day in scan fees. And so that was huge. That was a great event. You could do those events once a month, once a quarter. You could do snip and scans. You could do sip and scans. You could have a day a lot of people do where they sit at Panera or Starbucks and they book appointments every 30 minutes. Or maybe if you're doing a consult with balance, I would say you need to book them about every hour. But that person's coming in and they are, you do the scan and you do the consult. And so it's a fantastic, fantastic way to build your business. Think about dangling a carrot of a discounted scan for an ER enrollment. Or maybe this month, our PV promos have just been released. It's a great spring cleaning month. Everybody's going to get a whole lot of thieves and a great products. So maybe if you have personally enrolled people that hit 300 PV this month, you may offer a half price scan. Or think about family packages. We have a lot of people who have large families. You could offer a family package where you go to that home and you scan everybody. And that helps that family, those adults in the family, understand what they need in their family for products for the whole family. So it really can make those OGV numbers go through the roof. All right. And of course, rescan appointments. You could do a punch card where they get so many scans and one's free or whatever. I mean, just tons of ideas out there on how to do this. All right. So one of the tools that I have come up with, and I'm going to put this in the files tab here in the group so that you will have access to it, is this particular note page. Let me just slide this over here. I have found that when I'm doing a scan, it's really beneficial as you're going through these 20 pages, that's about the average scan, to write down some information. so that when you do go over the consult with them, that you kind of have everything, your ducks in a row, right? And you're not going back and forth in all these pages on the computer. So I'll go ahead and have like the name, the gender, the email, the phone, and the date of birth at the top. And then the date of the scan, what their range was, how many biomarkers were in range, how many biomarkers were out of range. And then I start listing. So I list the products and their DR value. I like the DR value because it helps us to know which products they need the most. I list that, and then I list the top stressor virtual items. So if you heard me talking about mine was the gastrointestinal and then the toxic stress and those kinds of things. Then we didn't even go over this because I didn't have any on my scan to demonstrate for you, but the 0.00s will show up on some scans. And if you've already been doing balance, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes we have data points that come back without any number beside it, no colored bar. It's just a zero, 0.00. Those are what we call exhausted response or closed assessment. So what Zyto says is we want to look at the things that are most out of range, but then we want to come back and pick up any of those zeros, because that doesn't mean that your body was great. Yes, I got a perfect score. It means your body was just kind of like, I don't want to talk about it. Go away. I took an incomplete for that section. Okay, so many times it's something we want to pay attention to. And the way you will know is when you go through and you start looking at the products. So like if, for example, my gastrointestinal came up as 0.00, but my products were Detox Zyme and Comfort Tone and Digest, that's going to tell me that 0.00 was indeed an exhausted response. Okay, so we want to list any of those zeros right there. You may not have any. All right, and then list the services recommended. And then at the bottom, the recommended lifestyle changes. Like a lot of times things, let's say you'll see water contaminants show up on somebody's skin. Well, water contaminants, all of those things are listed in the Zyto inventory, so you can see what qualifies as a water contaminant. But Google these things. Go over and Google water contaminants, negative effects on the body. So we all know that chlorine, fluoride, and some other things show up in our water. But did you know that medications also are in our water? If you're drinking city water, that you have a multitude of medications that are in the water that are literally coming through people's bodies where they've taken the medication, they've gone to the restroom, you flushed the toilet, it went into the city water system. The city water cleaned it up, but they cannot remove everything. And so there are medications in there, and those are contaminants. Sometimes we'll see antibiotics show up on somebody's Zyto scan. What if they haven't taken an antibiotic? Well, antibiotics are in water, and sometimes that is a problem on a scan. It's causing a stressor in the body. And so a lifestyle suggestion for me to somebody that, from me to someone would be, hey, you might want to consider getting a Berkey or a whole house water filtration system, because even if you're drinking pure water, you're still showering and bathing. If you swim, if you get in a hot tub, I mean, these are all things that are absorbing into our bodies. Okay. So that's where I would put like the lifestyle suggested things. And then rescan appointment, go ahead and rebook. Keep a planner with you. If you do a digital calendar, then do that. But rebook these people, and then that way they come back in, and you can see the progress, or you can see the next area. So you've often heard us talk about our bodies being like an onion. Onions have layers, and so the Zyto is going to show us the most out of range areas that we want to work on the most. And then as we work on those, maybe our rescan might show something completely different. But these are lifestyle choices that we are incorporating into our wellness routine. I take Detox Zyme every day, and I still scan that I needed it. Maybe I needed more that particular day. It's similar to muscle testing. So your muscle testing, a lot of times when you muscle test, you need more than what the label says. And so that is exactly how the Zyto is working as well. Okay, so I want to cover some questions that were in here prior to me signing on and doing this broadcast. So Marge, Thank you for your questions. She had several. So when Zyto interprets parasites, what does that mean? Well, great question. It means that there is a stressor in the body and it showed up as a parasite. Google parasites and how they can impact the body. Now, sometimes you'll see parasites under the detoxification system where, maybe that's the liver, the lungs, the skin. Those could be where the parasites might be a stressor. Or you see parasites under the gastrointestinal system, could be a stressor somewhere in the gut. So it's just kind of up to you. Now, I can tell you this. My practitioner, her name is Dee Baudouin. She runs Health Matters. It's a clinic that's multiple offices. She scans remotely all over the world. She does Zyto Elite and Evox. And I know that when I can recommend somebody to her, that she can see what parasite it is, where it is in the body, how long it's been there, and what's going to get rid of it. So sometimes my Zyto balance is just a stepping point until where I'm actually referring somebody over to a licensed practitioner where they can work in depth. And so as the balance can't show you that, the Elite will. And hers is completely tricked out and has custom information in there that a stock Elite doesn't have. And she does scan for Young Living. So, okay, the next question. What do the different colors signify, the green and the red on the bar graphs? So I think I may have covered that. If I didn't, let me know. But basically, it's the green and goes into the red. The colors are pretty, but basically, let's look at the number in that little bar, and how it is in range, how it compares to the range. So if your range is 4, but your bar number is 25. Then you're out of range. And so the colors kind of go along with that. Is there a source that you could refer to when the stressors come up so that we can quickly refer to it for information? And she says she's mainly talking about glyphosate, DHEA, and the role of pituitary gland. Again, Google's going to be your best friend. Okay, so glyphosate, y'all, is Roundup. And Roundup's in all of our food, especially if you're a big cereal eater. I have several friends that we're all geeked out on Zytos together. Danelle Johnson is one of them, and Cody Lynn Kaler is another one. And we talk about Zytos a lot. But Danelle and I were just in a conversation about glyphosate and how when she sees glyphosate on scans, it's a lot of times just asking questions of the people that you're scanning, and they eat a lot of cereal. A lot of cereal that's genetically modified and not organic, and those grains that they make the cereal out of is just completely loaded with Roundup. And so Google glyphosate, help your person know what glyphosate is and where they may be getting it. So DHEA and the role of pituitary gland, Google it. That's going to be your best friend. Google pituitary gland and maybe the system that it's in, and learn about the body and how it's going to be. That's how I've learned a lot, learned that the pineal gland is responsible for creating melatonin, and I see that a lot on the sleep category. So we know that melatonin helps people with getting ready for sleep. And if they don't have enough melatonin and the pineal gland showing up and the balancer is sleep essence, it has melatonin in it. So you're really just kind of triangulating all of these things to where you can go, this is why this is showing up, and you might want to make this lifestyle change. And then, of course, when you're doing these notes, you can either make a copy, or this could be just for you, or you can hand it to them. It's up to you. Let's see. Doing a scan on a very fit, active individual who is all about health and wellness. Under the mental and emotional stressors, her cardiovascular system was completely out of range. How does one explain such a result? Great question. Okay. This is where the releasing emotional patterns using essential oils is really going to help you. But if you look up the cardiovascular system in your vectors on your balance scan, you will see the emotions related to the heart, related to the cardiovascular systems. And a lot of times it goes back to a negative emotion. There's literally a saying, a broken heart. So she may be in perfect physical shape, but if she's dealing with some negative emotions she hasn't really acknowledged and dealt with or has gone through something recently that has really weighed heavily on her heart, her cardiovascular system can show up out of range. It's just the way it works. So great questions. Thank you. Okay, Catherine Taylor writes, when water impurities show up, what does that mean? Okay, Catherine, I think what you were talking about is the water contaminants. And so in the Zyto balance, you can look up, click on libraries, click on inventories, and then type in water contaminants. And it'll show you a list of things that would qualify as a water contaminant, but typically that's what that means. And it usually comes in through showering, bath water, those kinds of things. So thanks for the question. Liz Bald writes, when scanning kids, why do adult supplements come up? I love this. Yes, we put a date of birth in there. So yes, you would think that the Zyto would know that this is a kid and I'm scanning a baby. And why is it showing up for this, this adult supplement? So that's a great question. So we go back to the fact that the products have a digital signature and it has a vibrational pattern that is matched to the body during the scan. So when the person is having a biological coherence to that product, it's just another clue that's helping you. So if a kid scans for Life 9, well, we have Mighty Pro. So you could help them with Mighty Pro. You should be able to make those choices for them. But did you know you could also break open some of our adult supplements and give them a portion of that? So especially the capsules that you can break open. I see people that break open some of the capsules and literally mix it in applesauce and give kids of different ages a portion of that adult dosage. And of course, you're just going to have to kind of use your best judgment on that, or that parent's going to have to use their best judgment on that. But again, we are seeing clues. This is not a diagnostic tool. This is just giving us information, some data to help us know what the body needs. Okay. Great question. All right. So, I wanted to kind of go through just some common things that we see. We see artificial sugars and sweeteners show up all the time on scans, and people all the time are asking, well, what is that? I don't consume anything that has aspartame in it. Well, the typical artificial sugars and sweeteners are aspartame equals saccharin, sorbitol, Splenda, and sweet and low. If you're not reading your labels, you may not realize where these things are coming from. So this is just a teachable moment to help people understand how important it is to read their labels, especially condiments and coffee sweeteners and things like that. They sneak this kind of stuff in those things all the time. It also may mean that you have absorbed them over time. You may not be consuming them now, but you've had an accumulation, a bioaccumulation of them. And so you need to use the products and the balancers to help flush the body of those things, because they can be very, very, negative on the body. So, Brian Hancock is the lead coach over at Zyto, and I have copied a bunch of stuff on what he has said into in the forums. The forums are just incredible on where you can learn stuff. You see vaccines show up on people's scans, and people like me and my age group, we all vaccinated. I vaccinated my kids. I didn't know any better. I just did what the standard American did with the doctor's recommendations. And I still am on the fence about vaccinations, but sometimes you'll see people who have never been vaccinated, but their vaccines will show up out of range. And so what he says about that is that the stressor is represented by a virtual item that's actually causing some stress to the body. If the stressor represents the virtual items were introduced to the body, then the body would likely not respond well. So that means that maybe that body wouldn't be good if they did have a vaccination. It's a negative thing. Or it could be an emotional or an energetic connection to the virtual item. So if you've got somebody that is like major anti-vaccine and that's their platform, they talk about it, it's on their mind all the time. Mainly, a lot of times when they scan, they'll scan for vaccines out of range because it's just what's on their mind. He gave an example, which was an excellent example. He had a practitioner call him because the practitioner had a client who tested very out of range for HIV. Now, this was on an elite software that will show HIV. And the client was positive that they were HIV free. Upon further investigation and asking questions, the client was actually a nurse in an HIV unit at a hospital she worked at. And so every day this nurse had to take steps to protect herself, and be vigilant not to make a mistake that would cause her to become infected. And so this was an energetic stress to the tie of the HIV, not that she actually had HIV. So all of these things, knowing this, going, the more you know about the Zyto, the more information you can give to the person you're scanning. Bone marrow. Bone marrow is another one that will show up, especially in the immune system stressors. I remember when I scanned my oldest daughter and bone marrow was way out of range, and it freaked me out. I'm like, oh my gosh, does she have bone marrow cancer? You know, I'm just like, ah! And so what I learned is that the bone marrow is actually part of the immune system when our white and red blood cells are produced there. And so when we go through some stress to the body, and especially the immune system, then the bone marrow can show up as an out-of-range marker. So just pay attention to the balancers and how that brings it in, and that kind of thing. You know, I just really want to stress that you'll see a lot of information on here, and just don't let this information freak you out or scare you to think, oh my gosh, I don't want to know. Well, knowledge is power. When we have this information, then we can move forward with our wellness plan with so much more intention, and therefore we will have so much more quick results with it. And when we have results, what do? We talk about it. We tell everybody about it because we can't keep our mouths shut about it. We're so amazed by it. And so then those accidental paychecks will start happening too, because people will be so impressed by what they've had happen. So anyway, tons and tons and tons of information out there. I am just seeing sometimes some questions pop up. I can't see them all. They come up and then they go. Okay, I just saw one. What about kids and toddlers and hormones showing out of range? That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. I can't see your name, so I don't know who asked that. But let me just kind of give you a little heads up on some things. If you're not, if you haven't ditched and switched all the products out of your house that could contain endocrine disruptors, then you need to. Or if that person that's scanning, that could be an indication that they're still using things that when you scan them with the Think Dirty app or the EWG app, that they're showing endocrine disruptors in those products. So that's another teachable moment to where you can go into detail about what they may be wanting to do. I mean, right there, that mom should be like, oh my gosh, I'm sold. Okay, give me all the KidSense bath products. Give me all the baby, the seedlings line, because I don't want these things on my children, in my children. We accumulate what goes on our body and in our body, and then we store it, and it confuses the hormone receptor sites in the cells, and so then that creates a negative hormonal situation. And so it's a lifestyle thing. That would go on this sheet of paper under the recommended lifestyle changes. Great question. Okay. Rachel, are there any other questions? I'm just kind of scrolling through here on some of the things that I had. I think I kind of covered a lot, and I can come back through and I can answer questions again as I see them pop up. So I'm going to go ahead and close it out. I think I've been talking for well over an hour, and I really appreciate Rachel again allowing me to come in and talk about this. You can tell I'm pretty passionate about this. And what is the application called? I'm not sure which application you're talking about. We've been talking about the Zyto Balance and the maybe app. We were talking about Think Dirty or EWG. I love the Pocket on the Go app for looking up the references. Not sure about that. Oh, just so you know, Zyto, Itovi, they all have like these referral programs. I did not get on here for you guys to use me as your referral. If you've decided that you're going to use Zyto in your business, please use your upline if they have a Zyto Balance. Use an admin in here. Don't think that I came in here thinking this is going to be a referral thing, because that is not what this is about. I can tell you too that Zyto has tons of resources in the form of webinars. They will do custom webinars for you and your team. So if you are introducing this to your team and you want to schedule that, you can just get in touch with the people at Zyto and they'll help you out. They're there to serve you. Now, they are closed on Fridays, and today is Friday, so don't everybody rush over there and think that you can't get anybody to answer the phone. They are closed on Fridays. They're open Monday through Thursday, and their tech support is open on Friday. And speaking of their tech support, they're great. When they see me call, they're like, oh my gosh, there's that lady that doesn't even know how to run her computer, and she's asking us about Zyto. You do not have to be a computer genius to run the Zyto. So it's for everybody. And all of these Zyto costs and your monthly fees are tax deductible. So you want to talk to your tax planner and all of the people that help you with that. But it's a great ongoing tax deduction, and I promise you, as a diamond, I'm always looking for tax deductions. So I love offering this for many, many reasons, but that's just one of those good, convenient things that happen. And two, I think there might have been a question about the software that I was actually using to present today. This is eCamm, E-C-A-M-M Live. It is a paid one-time $30 software that you can get if you're a Mac user. I don't know if there's an equivalent for PC, but you can definitely get that for your Mac. It's one time, and I've been using it for a while. So anyway, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for all of the hearts and the things that I've been seeing along the way. I really appreciate it. And I will be around, so I'll answer some questions. Y'all have a great day and a wonderful weekend, and I hope you have a fantastic March. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.